Okay, a lot of people ask me, what is it that makes an entrepreneur in the first place? What is it about them that makes them want to go start something on their own when the risks of failure are so high? We could talk about risks in a bit, but it has to do with people who are willing to challenge their fears. One of the things that happens a lot as you grow older is that the world sort of closes in on you if you let it. It's your job to not let that happen. What I mean by that is that when we're kids, we do all kinds of stupid stuff. We jump out of trees, we do stuff, and our parents get mad at us because we take so many risks. Some of us do get hurt, but we mend, we get back, and or most of us anyway. But anyhow, we take risks when we're younger, and we learn from those risks, and some of those painful memories stick with us, and we stop doing some of the dumb stuff we did as kids. But as we grow older, one of the things that also happens is that fear becomes an ever-present point in our life, and we become more and more fearful of a lot of things as we grow older. In fact, it's what often influences so many of our decisions, but influences them in a negative way. Our fears often become irrational, and they start to cloud all of our judgment. You have people who become afraid of flying. They become afraid of spiders and snakes and you name it, all kinds of things. Fears that they may not have had as kids, but over time became more and more fearful. Now, some of them are fully justified. Live in Australia and everything wants to kill you. But, for us that live up here in the Pacific Northwest, there aren't that many things that are harmful out in the wilderness except bears, cougars. Yeah, there's a few things. So it's not entirely true, but we don't have as many dangerous things as they have down in Australia. But fear still clouds our judgment, and so we're unwilling to take some of the risks that maybe we should in life that would give us the life that we want to have. And so I would challenge you to always do something that scares you a little, just to keep the fear spirits at bay and keep them from closing in on you, because it's an insidious thing when it happens. Entrepreneurs by nature are pathological optimists, so they don't think they're going to fail anyway. And when they do, it typically comes as a giant surprise to them because it was never in their plan to fail. And so there's a little bit of cloudy judgment there sometimes when you should look at all of the risks when you're going forward. But for the most part, it's a calculated risk. For anybody who's educated as an entrepreneur and wanting to start out on your own, you learn how to mitigate risks and keep them from just being this big thing where it's all or nothing. But you have to still do things that scare you a little. Take a class that's scary. Do something that you wouldn't otherwise normally do, and just push yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit. Go to a party, meet people. If you're an introvert, go out and force yourself to be a little bit of an extrovert for once. But do small things that scare you a little bit. And what you'll find is that the whole way in which you think about your decisions will change along with that. You will then start to think of the world very differently. It will start to open up in other areas. I promise you this is the way it was for me. I remember a stretch in the late 90s when it was getting like that for me. And I started to do things to take small risks, and what do you know? Opportunity came up. And so I think that you learn that in life. And so when I get so much email and so many questions on Quora about people and their fears related to entrepreneurship, I think it's largely not about whether or not they're going to succeed or fail in a business, because there are lots of businesses that aren't very risky. A service business isn't particularly risky, and it isn't like you're putting up a giant building and you're buying a bunch of machines. You can do things a little bit at a time in business and really reduce your risks way down. And it's just this fear of change, this fear of starting. I also have people that when you want them to do something and kind of explore an alternative life, something that is going to give them more of what they want, they'll often find ways to slow down, create process, do things to, in essence, bureaucratize their entire life. They'll make it as political as anybody for themselves. So don't do that. Don't sit there and say, well, I have to sit down and really study this problem. No. That's just your fear talking. Just dive in. Just do something. Jump off that cliff into that pond. And, have some fun. And this shouldn't be the most terrifying thing you've ever done. And if it is, that kind of tells you, that the the fear demons have sort of creeped in. And so don't let that happen. Look for ways to push them back, and you'll be so much happier that you did. And so with that, that's all I'm going to cover today. Thank you for watching. Now, please hit the subscribe button. That's kind of important because that's what helps us here. And also find us on Entrepreneurship on Quora, also Middlerock.com, as well as TomNault.com on my page. Write to us, give us your questions, and we'll be happy to get the answers here for you. Thank you very much for tuning in.